Hello, I'm Rory McKiernan and welcome to the Love and Courage podcast. Love and Courage is independent community-supported media for social change. A huge thanks to all you great patrons and donors who've chipped in and supported the podcast so far. Together we've hit the #1 spot on iTunes, and more importantly, we're reaching and inspiring people all over the world and helping build a real community for change. You can find out more about the podcast, send me feedback, inquire about Love and Courage talks, workshops and events, sign up for newsletter updates and donate online over at loveandcourage.org. On Twitter it's @loveandcourage. If you're an iPhone and iTunes user, please help the podcast grow by taking just 30 seconds to click subscribe and leave a rating and a review. Again, sincere thanks for all your support. It really is appreciated and makes a big difference. I hope you enjoyed the podcast.
People ask me what's your perspective of freedom, what you have today and what that means. Because I lost everything in my life, so sometimes very little things are precious, really. For example, maybe people hard to understand for me, having a cup of tea in the coffee shop and looking out the window to the blue sky, I feel that's freedom, that's my happiness.
My guest in this episode is Hyeonseo Lee. She was born in 1980 in North Korea, a country she thought was the best on the planet until she witnessed great suffering and starvation. At the age of 17, she left her family behind and escaped alone to China. Hiding her identity for 10 years, her life in China was far from easy, and she eventually decided to flee for South Korea. There she faced further challenges when the authorities initially didn't believe she was from North Korea. Sometime later, she returned to China when she met her family and travelled to Laos in order to bring them to safety in South Korea. However, her family were caught and imprisoned in Laos until an Australian backpacker helped pay for their release. Hyeonseo is the author of an acclaimed book, The Girl with 7 Names, and her TED Talk has reached well over 10 million people. While still struggling to adapt to her newfound freedoms, she travels extensively, sharing her story and telling the world about what is happening in North Korea. I met her in Dublin and was privileged to be able to sit with her and hear firsthand her incredible story and what is a true testimony of hope in overcoming great hardship. Hyeonseo, thank you very much for joining me on the Love and Courage podcast. I want to start by asking you about the meaning of your name because I believe there's an interesting story behind that.
Yeah, the name I have right now, Hyeonseo, is my 7th name. That I got my 7th name, which is the title of my memoir, The Girl with the 7 Names. Due to all the hardships in my life, especially hiding in China, I had to change my name so many times to protect my identity, to not repatriate to North Korea and being in prison or to be in public execution or not give any hurt to my family for the protection. That's how I changed my name so many times in my life. So the 7th name is I gave myself. Hyeonseo. Hyun is sunshine. Because I feel like I was living under the darkness area so long time in my life. So I just wanted to give the opposite. By having sunshine, I wanted to live like a bright place, not anymore under the tunnel or something. That's why I gave that. And then Seo means good luck. Because not only me, but all no skin defectors, pretty much you had bad luck compared to other people in the outside. So I just hoped I can have all the good luck. That's why I know the name will not change in my fate, but I just hoped it can helpful. So that's why I gave that kind of name. But I didn't know this name is so hard for foreigners to pronounce it until today.
Until you came to Ireland. And well, we have our own language here, and my name Rory can be very difficult for people to pronounce, so I understand your pain.
What is your name?
It's Rory.
Huh?
Rory.
Rory?
So now we're even. So you talked about the desire to have more good luck and good fortune in your life. And obviously there were many times where you didn't have good fortune and life was very difficult for so many reasons. Were there times in your childhood and teenage years and 20s where you believed that, did you ever feel despair that you were going to give up or that it was never going to change for you?
You mean when I was in North Korea or in
Yeah,
China?
or even because well, let's talk about your journey because let's talk about your childhood first because I think from what I understand of your story, you believed that life was essentially good until around the age of
Because
7.
I was blinded by the regime. Yeah. Because people until today, in the world, they are really hard to understand how North Koreans are such brainwashed even today. Are they really believing what the government told them, or they are faking? But we are truly believed what regime told us because I believe whoever growing up in North Korea, born in North Korea, they will become like exactly the same as a human robot living in the country because the moment I was born, for example, this whole room, this hotel room, I thought I learned that this is the world, and then this is the best room in the world because if you go out this house, the outside is like a disaster. The people are dying there, suffering there, like America or South Korea or Japan. It's all terrible country. If we learn this every day, because we never explore the country, and then we are not allowed to leave the country, and that's why there's no comparison. We can't compare, and then that's why we don't know even what's democracy or capitalism. That's why just the room I was growing up, I thought that was the world. That's why even though when we are suffering, I thought people in the outside are suffering more suffering than us. And then when I see we grew up with constant public executions, I saw first public execution when I was 7. That was the beginning of 7, and then we had to, as North Koreans, we had to watch people just bleeding. I mean, the bullets during your brain or heart. So we have to watching people dying in front of us, or because of starvation in 1996 to 1997. I saw so many people dying on the street, and sometimes the dead bodies was floating down the river, which was the border between China. So even though we see that, somehow I thought, maybe outside is more horrible than us. The executions, I didn't know that was actually against the human rights things. I thought in the outside, like America or other countries, they are killing people more horrible way. So that's a very standard. That's how the way we have to kill the criminals. That's what we believed. So literally everything what happened in North Korea, even the kids when they're suffering in terms of food shortages in North Korea, they thought people in the outside are more suffering than us. That's why we didn't complain anything about the government.
And can you tell me about the letter that your family received about the suffering that relatives were experiencing and what effect that had on you?
Yeah, that's the letter, which was this letter. That's not my family member. It's my mom's coworker from her company. Coworker's sister sent the letter before she's dying. Sent the letter to her sister. That's how my mom said. My mom's company is a huge company, so many people read the letter, and my mom said everybody was crying. So she asked her if I can bring this letter to my home to show my daughter, because my mom thought I'm too spoiled. She thought I don't know about the real world, what's going on inside North Korea. So she wanted to educating me by showing this letter what's going on in North Korea. So that's how she wrote the letter. And then the letter was saying, by this time when you read this letter, or 5 family members will not be existed in this world, because we didn't have any food for weeks. So our bodies are emaciated, and we are waiting to die. We are lying on the floor together, 5 family members. When I read, I feel like, oh my God, it's just so shocked. And then at the end of the letter, she said, before I die, my last hope is to eat the corn cake as much as I want. That was the ending sentence. So I was really shocked. That was the first moment I realized people in my country are suffering. Until then, I didn't think or realize people could die for starvation because I was young. I mean, I was 16. And then the corn cake, I was thinking it shouldn't be the people's last hope before they die. Eat corn cake. That corn cake considered very cheap food in North Korea, so it's not like a fancy thing. So that's why I was really shocked, and that was one of the other reason made me thought that my country maybe not is the best in the world. I thought China was the best in the world because China was the only country I could compare with my own, because we share the border together. That's how I just wanted to find out the truth with my own eyes, not from TV or not from North Korean TV or either Chinese TV. By seeing China with my own eyes, I want to check whether North Korea is real or China was real. And I was very naive but brave to find out the answer. So without telling my mom, my family, because I know if I tell my mom I'm crossing the border into China, then she will prevent me to go, because she, as my mom, she know that's how dangerous way crossing the border. That's why she gonna prevent. So I thought people today they're calling me like accidental defector. Just to find out the truth, I just wanted to see the real world, what's going on, and then I just naive. I didn't even think about what's gonna happen in the future. I thought just I will come back in 1 week later. That's all I was thinking. And then after cross the border, that was the moment I didn't know it would be the last minute with my home country, and I would have to separate it from my family for 14 years. Or nor could I have even realized that I had to avoid the brilliant new world in China, and I have to live in the shadows. Absolutely had no idea at the time.
So what was life like in China for you? How did you begin a new life?
Life as a North Korean defector, even today, at this moment, it's happening. Probably it's gonna happen until the regime collapses. I don't know, in 10 years later or 20 years later. So all tragedy is going on. It started from almost 20 years ago until now, and then more than later. So we, as a North Korean defector, when we cross the border into China, we don't know how to speak Chinese, and we don't know where to go. So the only people are waiting for us are human traffickers to sell North Korean people, especially most of them are females, whoever crossed the border into China. So they are selling the girls as sex slaves to sex industry, which they are treated as a merchandise. And the other female are sold as brides to a Chinese man first, to Chinese men as a bride, where the gender imbalance has driven up the demand for women even until today because of the Chinese one-child policy in the past. So my case was, luckily I had relatives in China, as I wrote in my book. So in the end, I found my relatives home, but I couldn't go back to China, to my country, because to make sure somebody saw I was crossing the border. That's how, if I appear in North Korea, my family and I will be all in danger because I illegally crossed the border. That's why at the time, if I don't go back to North Korea, it's saving for my family and me both. That's how I started living in China. But as a North Korean defector, China, even until today, they are not considered North Koreans as refugees. They are thinking, we are economic illegal migrants. That's why they are doing all dictators favor, keep sending North Koreans from China back to North Korea, repatriating them back to North Korea, where defectors like me will be imprisoned, tortured, and even sometimes in public executions. And sending political prison camp, ruining all the rest of lives. So the Chinese government, they know about this, but they are doing their favor for all dictator. So me, I escaped arranged marriage when I was 19. So it's literally nearly around 2 years after I arrived in China. Because my relatives in China, they felt, I was lucky at least I had relatives, while majority of North Korean people, they don't. But even the relatives, it's like sometimes I feel they are useless. It's not like a spirit. They felt burden about me, and then they wanted to get rid of me. That's why they put me in forced marriage when I was 19. That's how I was almost going to marry with somebody I never knew about it. And I escaped. Bravely, I escaped. So that was my second defection. Escape my country, escape from the marriage. And then the day I escaped, I don't know where to go. And then and then soon I found a job. It's a make short the story. It was all in my book, the longest version. But I found my job. I thought it was a good job the day. It was a decent job. And soon I realized it was in my horror, I realized it was a brothel. So in North Korea until today, capitalism illegal. We can't work for somebody and they're getting money. It's illegal in North Korea. That's why, like me, who grew up in North Korea in time of my life, when I realized the prostitution at the brothel, I couldn't imagine in this world even that kind of job could exist. So it was really shocking to me at the time. And so I still never forget a woman's face that, as one girl, she was teaching me how to give a massage to a customer, the man. And then I told her, I somehow knew this is not right things to do. It's just somehow strange, dangerous place because I saw gangs. They are watching the door. So I told her, I'm escaping this place today. I say that. And then she said, no, impossible. She said, this is not the kind of place you can escape freely. So that really struck me, and that really shocked me, her answer. And then the whole night, I was thinking, how can I escape this place? If I don't escape right now, probably I will never have a chance to escape this place. And then, luckily, the next morning, sometimes I have a very quick brain. So I just convinced the brothel owner, there was a woman, that I will come back. She thought I'm, very naive, little young girl. Yeah, she certainly will come back. She believed. That's how I just, ruled her. And then that's how I just could relieved from that place. And then I just escaped forever. That was my story. And then soon, 3 years after I arrived in China, my Chinese friends report me to the police station. So I was under interrogation, nearly 30 Chinese policemen at the police station. It was a horrible experience because I saw so many North Korean defectors, they were already caught and then they were in the prison cell in the police station on the ground. I saw that and then I was thinking my life was ended at the moment. But because they couldn't believe it at the end, I was actually North Korean defector because of my Chinese language abilities. And they thought that was a false report, and then they released me. So that was a really first miracle happened in my life. Yeah. So this is only one part of my story. It's a long story to say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there, I think you've just described 4 escapes. Yeah. So escape has been a big part of your life. And this podcast is called Love and Courage. And I feel that courage is the thing that helps you escape a difficult situation and helps anybody to escape. What do you think makes you more courageous than other people, perhaps? Or where did you find the courage?
Yeah, I think many people ask me the question, even who's older than me. Even I hear this question so many times. How do you have the courage to do that? I mean, if me, I don't think I can manage to do that. It's impossible. So my answer is no. I think we as a human, we have the strong nature. Everybody we do have. That's what I'm telling them, because you never grow up in the environment, so you don't have the strength or the survival instincts that I have. But me, I was growing up in completely alien and crazy country, which is North Korea. So growing up the environment, I think I just learned that surviving nature automatically. That's why North Koreans are very strong even today, because of the situation. Because we used to live under the fear of the government. We saw all the cruel or crazy things growing up in the country. But what made me really continue to, that's how I didn't give up my life. That's what I have today. So the strength is, I think, hope. The hope. Because I'm a human being. I'm just the one little girl. When I was hiding in China, sometimes I feel I wanted to end up my life because I feel so tiring to continue sometimes. I feel just the world is not my side. Everything is against me. So I really hated this world. And then I was thinking, just who cares if I die? Just easy. I don't have to suffer anymore in my life. Whenever I was thinking about that, I also feel sorry for my mom. She will be thinking I will be live happily in China without knowing about the truth. So she might be having a hope to meet her daughter one day. So whenever I'm thinking about that, I feel I shouldn't do that. I shouldn't give my mom the pain. That's why I gathered the strength myself. And so I knew if I don't give up, if I do my best, maybe one day if I have the luck, I could reunite with my family. So that's the only hope, meeting my family. Because to me, until I meet my family for 14 years, the last minute I saw my mom's face, right before crossing the border, I didn't tell her I'm crossing border. I lied to her. I said, Mom, I'm going to my friend's home. So I will come back before go to bed, which is very common for the kids. So she really believed, and then she hoped I come back home earlier before dark. So when she was waving her hand to me at the yard, so the face was so strong, the image was to me. So I was keep reminding my mom's that face, and then I hope to see that face again in my life. And that's the strength made me to continue my life. And then I'm happy that I made it happen. Not many North Korean defectors like me in that situation, they made it actually happen into reality, which more than 90% of defectors today, they are separated from their family members forever. So, yeah. So my point is, freedom isn't free. I really love this expression, freedom isn't free. I know then more than anyone what that means. Because to have this freedom, to meet my family, I paid the biggest price in my life. So like people today, when they see me, maybe they might thought I'm look normal on the outside, but I am suffering unspeakable pain, because to have this freedom, I lost all my relatives, friends, and I had to separate from my family for 14 years. What if I don't meet my family until I die? I couldn't even imagine that feeling. And people ask me, what's your perspective of freedom, what you have today, and what that means? Because I lost everything in my life, so sometimes very little things are precious, really. For example, maybe people hard to understand for me. Having a cup of tea in the coffee shop and looking out the window to blue sky, I feel that's freedom. That's my happiness in South Korea, in my divided country. So when I was living in North Korea for 17 years, I couldn't imagine I could have that cup of tea in my divided country today. Or when I was suffering in China, I experienced a lot of hate and heaven. At the time, I never even imagined I can even seeking asylum to South Korea because it's almost impossible, so dangerous to do that. But I have that today. That's why the cup of tea, it makes me so happy. And me, I have been living in free world as a free world only 8 years. I'm right now 37, so only 8 years I was living in freely. So I feel this freedom I have right now, like sitting in the island Dublin today, I think these are surreal. I feel this is not real because it's surreal, I feel like. And then sometimes I'm scared this new freedom I have might be disappeared. And I hope it lasts forever, and I pray for that.
When you say you pray for that, do you have a belief system or a religion or spirituality?
Yeah, that's one of the difficulties. I was trying to believe in God so many times as soon as I arrived in South Korea because I have a trauma mentally. That's why I need to grab something and then I have to tell what I feel and then I need some pray. But I can't do this on human being. So I need God. But on the same time, is it real God or fake? Am I wasting my time or not? Because me, as a North Korean defector, we were brainwashed once, seriously. Because I thought my dictator, my dear leader, living in North Korea, they're my God, who didn't even go to the bathroom. I seriously believed for 17 years he was my God. And then in the end, turned out it's fake. That's why I don't know. One day, if God turned out fake, then how can I suffer? I mean, how can I manage my mental situation at the time? That's one scary thing always keep bothering in my mind. So it took like 6 years for me to trying and failure so many times. But right now, recently, finally, I accepted it. I was wrong. I believed in human, which is shouldn't believe in human. So this is a real God, which in North Korean regime copied the Bible, and then they were ruling the country exactly as the Bible. So I have to. This is a real God, because I started believing there is God. I think miracles can happen maybe 2 or 3 times in your life. But in my case, so many miracles happened in my life. So I was thinking from beginning, maybe I was a lucky girl, that's why it happened. But I don't, these days as I'm more getting mature, I feel that's impossible. Maybe I shouldn't be like, think that's all my luck. I think they are really God just keeping me healthy, keeping my family. It's because that was the last end of my life, I felt, and then the miracles happened. It's like a movie. It's like a surreal. So especially like when my family was in the prison in Laos in 2009, when they had to escape the country to find the freedom in South Korea, my family had to experience 2 times of prison in Laos. And then at the moment when I didn't have money to pay for the fine fees that Laos government asked, I met my angel. I didn't believe there's angel actually exist, but he was Australian, white man. That was my first Westerner I ever met in my life and started talking together. So after he heard my story, he went to ATM and then he withdrew the US dollar in cash with his credit card, and then he's not only rescued my family from prison, but there's 3 other North Korean defectors was in the same prison. So 5 of defectors he helped releasing from prison. So that I don't know how can I explain this situation. Is it miracle? That was really to me stunned. It's like seems like God sent me to angel. So at the moment I realized the angels are not only in novels or movies, they're actually working among us. So that little things a little bit developed in my mind, and then right now whenever people ask me if I'm religious, I'm saying I'm Christian. Yeah, so I think I don't know how to read Bible, but I think in the end, I think I will be very serious Christian.
What is life like for you now? Tell me about meeting your husband and what type of work you do. I know you've been studying and writing and campaigning.
Can I not answer the question?
Yeah, no problem at all.
Because I'm divorced.
No problem. We'll cancel that bit. Just pause because I'm going to edit that. So can you tell me about life now in South Korea and what your normal life is like with friends, the type of work you do, the studying, the campaigning?
Yeah. Every work I'm doing right now, it's like my work is promoting the North Korean human rights issues around the world and raising awareness about the reality. So as I was doing, I'm giving speeches around the world or participating in conference, and right now I'm promoting also my memoir, which is international best-selling book right now. So it became my profession, my job, but on the same time, I want to study right now because I was I'm rescuing some sex slave women from China because I don't have enough money to rescue all of them. It's impossible. So I'm doing my best whenever I can. That's another my job. I had to do that as a female North Korean defector. Another thing is I want to study for my master's degree to educate more for the future. So the reason I want to study more is preparing for the day we have unification, because when North Korea open to the world, there's so many helps they need after open the country. So especially I'm a future unification right now. So as a North Korean defector, I believe there's a lot of things I have to do for that country. That's why every single step what I'm doing right now until unification is all for the future, for the day. Yeah.
And what do you do to have fun?
I'm always saying that's a really difficult answer for me to make it because don't consider me as a normal human being actually, because like today people, you don't know Michael Jackson or you don't know who's Beatles or even I didn't know who was Steve Jobs. So Michael Jackson or Steve Jobs, or after they died, I watching news, all world seemed very sad, and I'm thinking, who is this person? That's how I realized I learned about them. So people look at me, how you don't know them? How it is possible? So I said, don't consider us as a normal human being. We grew up completely different planet. It's not on the same this planet. It's completely alienated country. So in North Korea, above all dictator, above than them, there's no any human being can superior than them. No heroes above than them. Nothing. That's why Michael Jackson or Beatles, it's impossible. They are not teaching us that. So we are not allowed to listen outside, media contents. You will be killed or sent in prison. So that's how, I don't know, that's very natural for me actually. So all we did is surviving in the country. So we didn't even experience leisure, the travel. We didn't really know what's the concept of family traveling that much in North Korea. So I'm traveling a lot these days, so much. Within this 1 month, I visited right now 5 countries. Honestly, I feel really tired. My body is really exhausting. And so my free time, I don't know if I have my free time, but whenever I have free time, my hobby is I just want to stay in my room. I don't want to go out. I don't want to meet people. I just want to keep myself. So sometimes I stay in my room for 1 week myself without going out, without answering phone, just turning off everything. I'm just isolating myself. I wanted to take kind of quiet my time if I have that time. I do that rarely. So I don't know if what answers they're expecting from me. Like, I don't know. But me, because I have too much travel, I'm meeting so many people every day. That's my job right now. That's why I want my free time just to sleeping, that I didn't have enough.
So I think that's a very normal thing for anyone that's working that much and so busy, to need that rest. And I think many people need that in their lives, but you in particular with all that travel. I was just going to finish up now, and I want to ask, do you have any, you talked about the hope of your meeting your family in the past, the hope of reunification. What is your big dream in life now?
Personal dream or
Well, I'm giving you a magic wand, okay? And it's your choice what you do with it.
Dream? I don't know. I don't think I have a big dream actually, because I think I have enough right now, honestly, because as I said previously, I lost everything in my life. I experienced everything in my life, probably in my age right now. That's why I know the life. So I don't have big expectations or really big hope, because I met my family already. That's why that was my biggest hope for many years. And then I met my family. So I just live doing my best at this moment, every moment. And then my big hope is to probably to meet my relatives inside North Korea that I left behind. That's my biggest hope. And I hope I meet them when they're alive. I don't want to meet them after they died. So that's really sometimes scary me. That's why I really dreaming we have a unification. I mean, North Korea and South Korea is probably the last divided country on this planet. So I'm visiting Germany so many times. Whenever I go to Germany, I go to the busy Berlin Wall every time, because to me it's so pain and then so meaningful. Because by seeing the Berlin Wall, I hoped that happened to me, to my country. Yeah.
Well, I hope that we all see that day where all those borders come down, and I think the Berlin Wall is a very good example of why we should keep hoping. Thank you so much.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you for listening to the Love and Courage podcast. I hope you enjoyed it. I'd really love if you could subscribe to the podcast, rate it and review it, and spread the word on social media and wherever you can. While I love doing these interviews, they take a lot of time and effort in research, production, post-production and publicity, and there are some costs involved. If you would like to chip in and help the podcast grow, it would be really appreciated. All contributions welcome, and monthly patrons can receive a Love and Courage t-shirt, badge, special mentions online and discounts on future workshops and events. And this support helps me to help others in the community in my day-to-day work. My sincere thanks to all of you who have already supported in so many different ways. Also, just to say, I sometimes take on social change media, communications campaigns and strategic projects, and do talks and presentations, workshops in schools and colleges, community centres and at conferences. Topics range from mental health and personal development to youth and community empowerment, leadership, activism and social innovation. If you're interested in learning more about any of this, please let me know. So to get in touch, to offer feedback or suggestions, or to make a financial contribution right now, log on to loveandcourage.org or send me an email to podcast@loveandcourage.org. Thank you so much for all your support. Until next time, here's to you, to all of us, and to having the courage to create big change in our lives and in the world around us.